Hey there, sleepyhead. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly. Tonight, you will drift not into your own dreams, but into a life that once belonged to another. You are Virginia Woolf. And as you listen, you will walk again through the corridors of memory, not rushed, not hurried, but as if the story of your life were unfolding gently, like waves rolling in and out. You are born on a cold January day, in the year 1882, at 22, Hyde Park Gate in Kensington. The red-bricked house rises narrow and tall, each floor belonging to a different rhythm of existence, servants below, children in the middle, and at the very top, your father's sacred study. Even as a child, you feel the weight of this order, knowledge and authority above, invisible labor below, and in between, the restless lives of sons and daughters, half-siblings and step-siblings, all gathered under one roof. Your father, Leslie Stephen, is a man of letters, historian, critic, editor of the great Dictionary of National Biography. His study smells of paper and ink, and though you admire his brilliance, you sense his moods like shifting weather, sharp tempers, heavy silences, demands for attention. Your mother, Julia, is beauty personified, serene, elegant, her face immortalized in pre-Raphaelite paintings. But she is more than a muse. She nurses the sick, manages a crowded household, and seems always to be in motion, slipping from room to room, from duty to duty. To you, she is both near and far, endlessly admired yet never fully yours. You are the third child of this union, but not the third in the household. The house is filled with children from previous marriages. Half-brothers who tower over you, sisters who slip between roles of companions and caretakers. It is a world of blended kinship, laughter and quarrels, play and unease, a complicated weave of family that will one day echo through the pages of your novels. As a girl, you wander freely into your father's library. The shelves seem endless, the books whispering worlds beyond Hyde Park Gate. You devour them in secret, hungry for words, for voices. While your brothers are sent away to schools, you remain home, your education shaped by your own curiosity. You teach yourself history, philosophy, poetry. You sharpen your eye on the world through reading, through listening, through the quick wit you practice in the family's own handwritten newspaper, the Hyde Park Gate News. And yet, your truest joy is not within the city walls, but by the sea. Each summer, your family escapes to St. Ives, to Torland House overlooking Porthminster Bay. Here, your childhood breathes freely. You wake to the salt air, run barefoot on the sand, climb rocks slick with seaweed, peer into tide pools alive with tiny creatures. The waves crash endlessly, their rhythm sinking deep into your memory. The lighthouse across the bay blinks its steady light, and you carry it with you forever. Cornwall becomes your Eden, a place of freedom and imagination. In later years, when you write to the lighthouse, it is this shore, this house, this vanished paradise you will summon back to life. But Eden does not last. You are only 13 when your mother, Julia, dies suddenly of illness. The loss shatters you. The world, once lit by her beauty and strength, falls into shadow. This grief is too large, too raw, and it breaks something within you. You descend into your first darkness, depression, despair, voices in your mind. It is the beginning of a struggle that will return again and again, stitched into the fabric of your existence. Still, life does not pause for mourning. Your half-sister Stella steps into the role of mother, trying to hold the family together. For a short while, her care is a light in the house. But fate is cruel. Within 2 years, she too is gone. Another loss. Another fracture. The home at Hyde Park Gate grows heavier, darker. Your father, inconsolable, leans upon you and your sister Vanessa with demands that wear at your spirit. And so your adolescence becomes a mixture of brilliance and sorrow. You read, you write, you imagine. But beneath it all runs the quiet ache of absence of your mother, of your lost Cornish summers, of a girlhood interrupted by grief. And so you drift now, as if on the waves of memory, toward the next chapter of your life. You are no longer a child. Your teenage years are marked not by freedom, but by confinement. The great house at Hyde Park Gate feels heavier with each passing season. Your father, wounded by grief, turns his daughters into caretakers. You and Vanessa are expected to read aloud to him, manage the household, soothe his moods. His study above your head becomes both a temple and a prison, filled with books, filled with intellect, but also filled with his needs. And then there are your half-brothers, George and Gerald Duckworth. Their presence unsettles you. They are older, and their affection is not the safe comfort a young girl should know. You never speak of it openly, not then. But inside, you feel the confusion, the betrayal, a sense that the body is not your own. This silence, this shadow, will follow you for the rest of your life. Still, you endure. You turn back to words, to books. The library remains your sanctuary. You read the Greeks, history, philosophy. Later, you begin formal lessons in Greek with Clara Pater, the sister of the critic Walter Pater. The language sharpens your mind, its clarity, its precision, its music slipping into your own style, even as your own prose grows fluid, lyrical, yet carefully measured. In these years, you meet friends through your brother Thoby, bright young men from Cambridge. They bring with them conversations alive with new ideas, philosophy, art, ethics. Among them are Clive Bell, Lytton Strachey, Leonard Woolf. They speak without the stiffness of your father's generation. With them, you glimpse a freedom, a way of thinking unshackled from convention. Then, in 1904, the greatest rupture yet, your father, Leslie Stephen, dies. You are 22, and the loss throws you into another collapse. Voices echo in your head, darkness closes in, and in despair you even try to throw yourself from a window. For a time, you are institutionalized. The asylum terrifies you, its isolation, its treatments, the way it strips you of self. You carry that fear for the rest of your life. But you survive. Again, you survive. When you and your siblings leave Hyde Park Gate behind, selling the family house and moving to Gordon Square in Bloomsbury, it feels like an escape into light. Here, in this quieter neighborhood of London, you and Vanessa create a new home. Gone are the heavy Victorian furnishings, gone the dark wallpapers. Your rooms are white, simple, open to air and space. The house becomes a gathering place, friends from Cambridge fill it with laughter, debate, and daring. On Thursday evenings, voices rise in conversation about art, morality, politics, beauty. Here begins what the world will call the Bloomsbury Group. For you, it is simply community, a place where men and women speak as equals, where honesty matters more than propriety. You begin to write not just for yourself but for the world. In 1905, you publish your first review in the Times Literary Supplement. You are paid for your words, a moment small on paper, but enormous in meaning. You are a professional now. A woman stepping into the public literary sphere. You lecture, you critique, you shape sentences with precision and courage. But your health is fragile. After finishing your first novel, The Voyage Out, in 1913, you fall again into despair. You attempt to take your own life with sleeping pills. Leonard, by then your husband, saves you, and with him begins a partnership that will sustain you for decades. Leonard is unlike others. He does not demand of you what you cannot give. He is steady, watchful, practical, his care both strict and gentle. He keeps diaries of your moods, makes sure you eat, insists on rest. It is not a conventional marriage, the physical side is absent, shadowed by your own ambivalence and your past. But in place of passion, there is companionship, devotion, a shared life of letters. With Leonard, you will build the Hogarth Press, a small printing press in your own home, that gives you control over your work and freedom from the constraints of publishers. In Richmond, the sound of type setting echoes softly in your rooms. You set each letter by hand, you press the pages, you bind the books. The rhythm of the work soothes you, the tactile act of making books with your own hands. Here you print your stories, Leonard's writings, and later the works of great minds, T.S. Eliot, Freud, Catherine Mansfield. The Hogarth Press becomes not only a refuge, but a force in literature. Your style begins to change. In stories like The Mark on the Wall, you experiment with stream of consciousness, letting thoughts drift as they truly do, unstructured, alive. You leave behind the heavy architecture of Victorian narrative. Instead, you chase the fleeting, the inner, the luminous halo of consciousness itself. By 1915, The Voyage Out is published. Rachel Vinrace, your young heroine, wanders toward self-discovery but dies before she can reach it. A reflection of your own fears, your own fragility. Critics notice your prose vivid, lyrical, already different. Yet you know it is only the beginning. In Bloomsbury, friendships deepen. With Lytton Strachey, there is wit and intimacy. With Maynard Keynes, conversations about economics and society. With Vanessa, still, the closest bond of all. But also rivalries and entanglements, your feelings for Clive Bell, your longing for Vanessa's constant presence, the jealousies that twist love into ache. Your 20s and 30s are restless years, breakdowns followed by bursts of creativity. You write reviews, essays, novels. You walk the line between brilliance and collapse. Always the sea inside you, sometimes calm, sometimes threatening to drown you. And as the years turn, the world itself begins to change. Post-Impressionist art shocks London. New forms of seeing, new ways of telling the truth. You feel kinship with this, painters breaking the rules of vision, as you break the rules of prose. In 1910, you even say it aloud, on or about December 1910, human character changed. You sense it, a shift in consciousness itself. And you know you are part of that shift. The war is over, yet the silence it leaves behind is heavy. In London, you walk streets where young men once hurried with laughter, and now you see their absence everywhere, a gap in the air, an echo in the bricks. The war has not only taken lives, it has broken certainty. And in this fractured world, you begin to feel the urgency of a new kind of writing. You do not want to write as your father's generation did. You do not want to explain the world in long chapters of fact and furniture, of incomes and street names, as though those could define a human soul. You want to capture life as it is truly felt, fleeting, fragile, shifting moment by moment. So you write Jacob's Room in 1922. Jacob is a young man, bright, curious, restless. But you never tell his story directly. You show him in fragments, through letters, through the voices of friends, through a chair left empty, through silence. He goes to Cambridge, he travels to Greece, and then he dies in the war, as so many did. All that remains is his room, his things, his absence. When critics read it, some are bewildered. Where is the plot, the shape, the tidy conclusion? But others see what you are doing, shaping fiction into something closer to thought, closer to memory. For the first time, you feel you have broken free. You are no longer imitating the Victorians, no longer standing in their shadow. You are Virginia Woolf, with a voice entirely your own. You explain it later in essays. In Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Brown, you write that on or about December 1910, human character changed. You argue that life is not a series of neat lamps, lined up and orderly. Life is a halo, shifting, shimmering, full of impressions. This is what you want to write, the halo of existence. And so, in 1925, you publish Mrs. Dalloway. It takes place in a single day, but within that day an entire universe unfolds. Clarissa Dalloway steps out into the streets of London to buy flowers. The air is bright, the city alive. As she walks, memories press in. Her youth at Bourton, her love for Peter Walsh, her kiss with Sally Seton, her choice of Richard Dalloway as husband. The past and present move together like waves. But you also follow Septimus Warren Smith, a veteran returned from the war, broken by its horrors. He sees visions, hears voices, feels the weight of his dead friend Evans. The doctors treat him not with kindness but with cruelty, with dismissal, with the coldness of authority. And so he throws himself from a window. His death is not only his own, it is a silent message carried into Clarissa's party, a reminder of fragility, of the closeness of death. Readers are struck by it. Some are unsettled, confused by your way of slipping between minds, between times. But others recognize the truth in it, the rhythm of thought, the way life is really lived beneath the surface. You have written a modernist masterpiece, and you feel it. But it is to The Lighthouse, published in 1927, that brings you closest to your own soul. You return, through memory, to St. Ives, to Torland House, to your childhood summers by the sea. You bring back your mother, transformed into Mrs. Ramsay, beautiful, serene, always creating harmony, gathering people together with her presence. You bring back your father, now Mr. Ramsay, restless, demanding, brilliant, yet in need of constant reassurance. You bring back yourself, as a child, longing, observing, quietly storing away every detail. The novel is divided into 3 parts. In the first, the family gathers in their summer house. A trip to the lighthouse is planned but denied, the weather too uncertain. In the second part, time passes, 10 years flow by in the silence of an empty house. Dust gathers, plants grow wild, and lives are lost. Mrs. Ramsay, gone. Andrew, killed in the war. Prue, dead in childbirth. These deaths are noted almost in passing, in brackets, like interruptions in the flow of time. Yet they pierce deeply, showing how life vanishes in silence. In the final part, the surviving family returns. The trip to the lighthouse finally happens. James, the boy who once longed to go, now older, finally reaches it. And Lily Briscoe, the painter, finishes her picture of Mrs. Ramsay. In that final stroke of her brush, she captures something lasting, even though she knows it, too, will one day be destroyed. Art becomes the way to hold on to fleeting life, to make meaning from loss. When you finish it, you feel you have done justice at last to your mother, to the childhood that shaped you. Critics hail it as your masterpiece. And in many ways, it is. The 1920s are your radiant decade. You are surrounded by voices and ideas. In Bloomsbury, evenings stretch into night with laughter, argument, thought. Lytton Strachey teases with sharp wit. Maynard Keynes debates economics and politics, his mind as quick as lightning. Vanessa paints, her colors bold and unafraid. Leonard watches you carefully, always, making sure the rhythm of your life does not collapse into chaos. But the greatest spark of this decade comes from Vita Sackville-West. She is tall, handsome, vibrant, aristocratic, a woman who lives with a freedom you envy and adore. With her, you feel something different, a love that excites you, inspires you. Out of that love is born Orlando, published in 1928. Orlando begins as a man in the Elizabethan age, a poet, a lover, a dreamer. He lives through centuries, serving as ambassador, traveling, writing. And then, one morning, Orlando wakes to find himself a woman. From then on, she continues through the ages, discovering how society treats her differently, yet remaining the same person within. It is a love letter to Vita, a celebration of her and of the fluidity of identity itself. It is playful, bold, and joyous. Readers embrace it, critics delight in it. It sells more copies than any of your other books. For once, success feels easy, light. And then comes A Room of One's Own in 1929, drawn from lectures you give to women at Cambridge. You tell them a simple truth, that to write, a woman must have money and a room of her own. Without these, without independence and space, women have been silenced for centuries. You imagine Shakespeare's sister, equally gifted but denied education, denied freedom, her genius smothered. Your words strike like lightning. Women listen. They remember. They carry your call forward. By the end of the decade, you are no longer only a novelist. You are a voice for women, for writers, for the possibility of freedom. You are a critic, an essayist, a pioneer. You are a woman who has made her own place in literature not by imitating men, not by following rules, but by writing the truth of consciousness itself. And still, even as your fame grows, you remain fragile. Success never protects you from the darkness. You work with intensity, and after each book, the emptiness returns. Leonard notices, always. He structures your days, keeps you eating, keeps you resting, tries to hold you steady. Without him, you know you might already have been lost. But for now, in the luminous years of the 1920s, you shine. Your words ripple outward across the world. You have transformed the novel. You have given women a voice. And you have carved a place for yourself in history. The new decade begins. It is the 1930s, and you are in your late 40s. Outwardly, you are established now, Virginia Woolf, the novelist, the critic, the voice of a generation. But inside, as always, the tide rises and falls, sometimes calm, sometimes threatening to pull you under. In 1931, you bring forth the waves. It is your boldest experiment yet. 6 voices speak: Bernard, Susan, Rhoda, Neville, Ginny, and Louis, their monologues weaving together like currents of the sea. They do not narrate events so much as they embody states of being, longing, ambition, joy, despair. Time flows through them, from childhood into age, punctuated by the voice of Percival, who dies young, leaving an absence that shapes them all. Between each section, you describe the sea and the light, dawn to dusk, tide to tide. When you finish The Waves, you feel both exhausted and exhilarated. It is not a novel in the old sense, but a prose poem, a chorus of voices, a meditation on identity and time. Critics call it difficult, strange, but many see its beauty, its daring. You have pushed the novel further than most imagined possible. And yet, the cost is high. Each book takes something from you. After finishing, you fall again into exhaustion, into the familiar edge of collapse. Leonard steadies you, as always, but you feel the weight of your own cycles, creation followed by emptiness, brilliance followed by despair. You continue nonetheless. In 1937, you publish The Years. It begins in the 1880s and spans 50 years of English life through the Pargeter family. It is your longest work, more conventional than The Waves, but still modern in its way, shifting perspectives, layering past and present, exploring the passage of time. It becomes your best-selling novel in your lifetime, bringing you more financial security, more readers than ever before. But you know it is not your truest voice. You had first conceived The Years as a companion to 3 Guineas, an essay on women, education, and war. You wanted to join fiction and polemic, but they grew apart in your hands, one becoming a novel, the other a searing essay. 3 Guineas, published in 1938, is your answer to the rise of fascism, to the drumbeat of war returning to Europe. You argue that the same structures that silence women, patriarchy, exclusion, the worship of uniforms and authority, are the very structures that lead nations into war. You write that as an outsider, a woman can see the absurdity of it, the violence hidden in respectability. Your words are sharp, uncompromising. Some readers admire your courage, others call you unpatriotic. But you do not flinch. You speak what you believe, that the roots of tyranny are also the roots of inequality. All the while, your personal life continues in its complex rhythms. Leonard is there, constant, careful, monitoring your health, your moods. You love him in your way, not with passion, but with deep gratitude, companionship, trust. Vita drifts in and out of your orbit, her presence still luminous, though the fire of your affair has cooled into friendship. Bloomsbury itself is changing too. Friends grow older, some die, the gatherings less wild, more reflective. Yet your mind is never still. You write diaries, essays, letters. You visit friends, you walk in the countryside, you return often to Rodmell, to Monk's House, your retreat in Sussex. The garden there becomes your solace, flowers, paths, quiet. You walk with Leonard among the apple trees, listening to the hum of bees, the rhythm of country life. But the world outside grows darker. Fascism rises in Germany and Italy. Hitler shouts on the radio, Mussolini marches troops, Spain falls into civil war. And in Britain, the drums of another war begin to sound. You feel it pressing on you, not just politically, but personally. You fear what war will mean for literature, for beauty, for life itself. By the late 1930s, you are both at the height of fame and at the edge of collapse. Young writers admire you, critics debate you, students read you. But inside, you feel the fragility. Sometimes you hear voices again, whispers that no one else can hear. Sometimes you fear madness will overtake you, as it nearly has before. And then, in 1939, the war begins. The bombs fall on London. The city you love, with its bustling streets, its bookshops, its river, becomes a place of fire and rubble. You and Leonard move back to Rodmell, to the countryside, away from the raids. You watch as friends are dispersed, as fear spreads across Europe once again. Yet even in these heavy years, you keep writing. In 1941, you complete Between the Acts. It is a quiet book, set in a village, centered on a pageant that tells the history of England. As the characters watch, fragments of the nation's past unfold before them, while the threat of a new war looms overhead. It is your farewell to fiction, though you do not say it aloud. By now, the weight is too much. The war presses in, your own mind fractures again, and though Leonard is constant, though your friends still care, you feel you cannot endure another collapse, another confinement, another cycle of madness. And so you walk once more to the river. The year is 1941. You are 59. The war has been raging for nearly 2 years, and Britain is under siege. The sound of bombers in the night has become part of life. Sirens wail, searchlights sweep the skies, the glow of fires rises above London. Even in Sussex, at Monk's House, you cannot escape the atmosphere of dread. The newspapers bring daily stories of destruction, of cities in ruins, of lives extinguished. Your mind is fragile once again. The voices return, those strange intrusions, half imagined, half real, whispering that you are failing, that you are broken. At times, you still manage to work. You finish between the acts, the book that will be your last. You pour into it a meditation on England itself, its history, its fragility, the way pageants and stories attempt to hold together a people. The villagers in the book watch their play, while war waits just beyond the edges. It is your farewell, though you never announce it. Leonard sees your suffering. He is careful, protective, but also burdened. You know this, and you love him deeply for his patience. He grows vegetables, tends the garden, keeps chickens, all while caring for you, always watching. And you, in your lucid moments, adore him. He has been your anchor, your companion, your rescuer. In truth, without him, you might not have survived so long. But now, the darkness feels heavier than ever before. You fear another breakdown, another confinement, another cycle of madness from which you will not return. You tell yourself you cannot put Leonard through it again. You cannot bear to drag him down with you. And so, on a March morning, you write your final letters. One is to your sister Vanessa, words of love, of gratitude. The other is to Leonard. You write slowly, deliberately. Dearest, I feel certain that I am going mad again. I feel we can't go through another of those terrible times. And I shan't recover this time. I begin to hear voices, and I can't concentrate. What I want to say is I owe all the happiness of my life to you. You have been entirely patient with me and incredibly good. I don't think 2 people could have been happier till this terrible disease came. I can't fight it any longer. I know that I am spoiling your life, that without me you could work. And you will, I know. You see, I can't even write this properly. I can't read. What I want to say is I owe all the happiness of my life to you. You have been entirely patient with me and incredibly good. If anybody could have saved me, it would have been you. Everything has gone from me but the certainty of your goodness. I can't go on spoiling your life any longer. I don't think 2 people could have been happier than we have been. When the ink dries, you leave the letter where he will find it. Then you put on your heavy overcoat. Into its pockets you place stones enough to weigh you down. The morning air is cold, the countryside quiet. You walk out of the garden, down the path you know so well, past hedges and fields, toward the river Ouse. The water moves slowly, dark and glinting in the light. You stand at the edge for a moment, listening to the current, to the silence, to the weight within you. And then, you step into the water. The river rises around you, cold, insistent. You wade deeper, the stones in your pockets pulling you down. The water closes over your head. The voices, the fears, the exhaustion, all of it dissolves into silence. It is March 28th, 1941. You are 59 years old. Your body will be found later, carried downstream. Leonard will grieve, but he will understand. He will keep your ashes, later burying them in the garden you both loved, beneath the elm trees at Monk's House. But your story does not end here. Because your words remain. They ripple outward, across time. Mrs. Dalloway still walks the London streets, forever buying flowers, forever remembering her youth. Septimus still hears the whispers of the dead, still tells the truth about war and suffering. Mrs. Ramsay still knits by the fire into the lighthouse, holding her family together with quiet grace. Lily Briscoe still paints, insisting that women, too, can create art that lasts. Orlando still crosses centuries, defying gender, laughing at time itself. And the voices in the waves still rise and fall like the sea, reminding readers of the strange, beautiful rhythm of life. You once wrote that a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. And because you wrote it, countless women after you have demanded that room, claimed their space, lifted their pens without apology. You once declared that human character changed, and so did fiction itself, because of you. Your influence spreads into every corner of literature. Writers read you, imitate you, argue with you, honor you. Feminists carry your words as banners. Readers find in your novels not answers but reflections of their own inner lives, their own secret thoughts, their own griefs and joys. You feared that madness and despair would erase you. But it did not. You remain. Your words are studied, cherished, remembered. Your voice, delicate and strong, flows like the river but never disappears into it. Close your eyes now. Imagine yourself not in the water, not in despair, but back in St. Ives, on the Cornish shore. The waves are coming in, curling white at their edges. The lighthouse blinks steadily across the bay. The air is full of salt and light. You are a child again, running barefoot, laughing, carrying seashells in your pockets. This is where your story began, and where it circles back. You are Virginia Woolf. You lived, you wrote, you changed the world. And even now, as the night deepens, your voice continues, quiet, shimmering, eternal. Sleep now, carried gently on her words.